Currently we're out here undertaking a application and uniformity test of this centre pivot. These are meant to be precision irrigation systems, so we want to make sure that they are putting out the precise amount of water that the farmer thinks. So he dials into the control panel how many millimetres he wants to apply, and we're checking that that's going out. On average it's about right, and also it's evenly spread across the length of the centre pivot. To do the uniformity assessment, we put out 2 lines of buckets. We put them every 2.5 metres from the centre of the pivot right out to the end of the pivot, and then we run the pivot over the buckets and go back along and measure the amount of water that's in each of those buckets. So if that application depth is significantly different to what is on the farm, on the control panel, then that makes irrigation scheduling really difficult. They don't know how much they're putting it out and how much water is going out in different parts of the pivot, and that means next time you irrigate you're not sure how soon you should be irrigating and how much water you should be applying. There's a whole range of things that can cause variability. Commonly we see low pressure causing low application depth towards the end of the pivot. There might be blocked nozzles, there might be nozzles that are put on the pivot in incorrect orders, and all of these can result in application depth not being what's expected. You can see there's a couple of sticky nozzles along the length of this pivot. So this is bore water. A lot of bore water like this has iron in it, and that sticks to surfaces, sticks to nozzles and blocks them up. And so it is important that we find ways to clean that off and free those up so that those sprinklers are moving. This is something that you should be doing right at the start when the pivot's first commissioned, but doesn't actually happen very often. So the next best time to do it is as soon as you can. It's a pretty labour intensive process to put out the amount of buckets that we put out. So a lot of farmers prefer, at the moment, Agriculture Victoria does these assessments where we can in northern Victoria, or you might pay a consultant to do similar work. But if you're not going to get a full uniformity assessment done, an alternative is to just put out a small number of buckets, 5 to 10 buckets, about 2 metres apart, and run the centre pivot over those buckets and just test the application depth under a couple of different spans. Ideally you'll do the outside 1 or 2 spans because they're the area of the pivot that covers the largest area of the crop. You might do a similar test towards the centre of the pivot and maybe one on an inner span, but not the innermost span because it covers a very small area and is usually highly variable because it's got such a low application rate in the centre of the pivot.